On this planet, there are islands that are not just destinations, but entire worlds separated from the rest of reality. Where the ocean embraces untouched lands filled with surreal colors, strange formations, and a feeling of stepping onto another planet. From pristine white sands blending into turquoise waters, dense tropical jungles, to towering cliffs plunging into the deep blue sea. In some places, nature remains exactly as it once was, while others carry a mysterious beauty that is hard to explain. Today, we explore the 50 most beautiful islands in the world, where every frame reveals something you won't believe truly exists. Located in the North Atlantic Ocean, the Faroe Islands of Denmark stand out as a landscape where steep terrain directly meets cold ocean waters throughout the year. Visitors reach this place only by air or sea, and upon arrival, they immediately experience strong winds and wide open space with no natural shelter. The vertical cliffs were formed from ancient volcanic lava layers that hardened over time and continue to be shaped by constant ocean erosion and wind pressure. Many travel routes involve elevation changes exceeding 1,000 feet, requiring careful movement and physical balance on wet and uneven ground. Traditional houses use thick grass roofs and stone materials to remain stable against powerful winds, showing how people adapt to harsh environmental conditions. The islands are widely recognized as one of the most untouched coastal environments in the North Atlantic, attracting large-scale geological and ecological research. Aitutaki, Cook Islands lies in the South Pacific, thousands of miles from major continents, where a volcanic island is encircled by a coral ring in open ocean waters. The surrounding coral reef forms a partial enclosure that keeps inner waters more stable than the outer ocean, allowing marine ecosystems to develop over long periods. The central lagoon covers about 19 square miles, equal to more than 7,000 soccer fields, with shallow, clear water and visible color shifts by depth. Local residents depend on fishing and small-scale tourism, maintaining daily routines closely connected to natural marine resources and lagoon conditions. Combination of an ancient volcanic core and surrounding coral structure creates a layered geological setting, both resilient and sensitive to environmental change. Because of its wide lagoon and protective reef system, Untouched is recognized as one of the most remarkable lagoon landscapes in the South Pacific and a natural symbol of the Cook Islands. Raja Ampat Islands, located in western Indonesia, is a marine region with the highest recorded density of ocean life on Earth. The water here can remain clear beyond 100 feet, allowing detailed observation of layered coral structures and wide-range fish movement. This region lies within an area that holds about 75% of all hard coral species worldwide, forming a highly stable and self-sustaining ecosystem. Hundreds of limestone islands rise sharply from the ocean, created by uplifted ancient seabeds and shaped by erosion over millions of years. Depth changes rapidly from a few feet to over 1,000 feet within short distances, altering currents and creating multiple habitats for marine organisms. Its greatest significance is serving as a biological center that helps maintain and restore marine ecosystems across large parts of the global ocean. In the northern sea of Norway, the Lofoten Islands form a chain of rocky land inside the Arctic Circle, where harsh terrain and human life exist together. Steep granite mountains rise directly from the ocean like a massive natural wall, shaped by ancient tectonic collisions and millions of years of erosion. The archipelago stretches about 90 miles, equal to more than 1,400 soccer fields placed side by side, creating a large national fishing ecosystem. For centuries, fishermen have relied on cod fishing, drying their catch on wooden racks and building a life closely tied to the cold northern sea. In a landscape sharply divided by rock peaks and deep water, how could a community survive without stable ocean currents and knowledge passed down for generations? The strong contrast between dark stone, blue water, and simple wooden houses creates a raw yet inhabited environment that makes this Arctic region instantly recognizable. In the Ionian Sea west of Greece, Zakynthos appears like a landmass separated from the mainland, where colors and structure seem to break familiar natural patterns. The entire western coast is formed by limestone cliffs rising up to 650 feet, dropping directly into deep water with no gradual transition zone. Light reflects through white limestone on the seabed and combines with changing depth, creating a strong and stable color effect where the water shifts from glowing light blue to deep blue within a short visual distance. Here, not every place allows direct access to the sea, and many areas can only be reached by boat or viewed from high cliff viewpoints. In addition, Zakynthos is a nesting site for the loggerhead sea turtle, which returns to the same area each year, with strict protection that limits light and human activity to prevent disorientation of hatchlings. According to BBC, Zakynthos is considered a clear example of how nature can create unreal-looking landscapes without any artificial elements. Across the waters of Indonesia, Komodo Island exists as a vast, dry environment where the largest predator continues to dominate the entire natural ecosystem. The terrain includes steep hills, dry, rocky ground, and hard surfaces, making movement difficult, while also reducing the availability of natural shelter. Komodo dragons can reach about 10 feet in length and weigh more than 150 pounds, holding the highest position in the food chain. Limited fresh water forces animals to travel long distances, increasing direct competition among species across the entire ecosystem. Sparse vegetation allows predators to observe and track prey across wide distances without being obstructed by dense plant cover. Komodo dragons can detect scent from several miles away, allowing them to locate prey even without direct visual contact. In the vast Indian Ocean, the Maldives is a coral island nation where the boundary between land and sea almost disappears. With more than 1,000 islands formed from ancient coral rings, this geological structure creates a rare national scale system floating across open water. The average elevation is only about 6 feet above sea level, roughly the height of an adult person, making the entire country directly dependent on ocean stability. Most of its territory is water, while land covers only a small fraction, so transportation, economy, and daily life rely heavily on boats and marine resources. For generations, local communities have depended on fishing and coral resources, building homes close to the shoreline and developing overwater resorts based on natural lagoons. Is there any other country that stands on such a thin coral foundation, where bright blue beauty exists beside the constant risk of changing sea levels? On Madeira, a volcanic island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, almost no flat land exists, and all movement occurs on steep slopes. The terrain formed from volcanic activity millions of years ago reaches elevations near 6,000 feet, with slopes covering most of the land. Rainfall is uneven due to ocean winds, requiring humans to construct over 1,000 miles of channels to distribute water resources. Visitors travel along narrow paths, only a few feet wide, flanked by steep drops, creating direct encounters with hazardous terrain. From high points, clouds can appear below the observer, showing the interaction between climate and topography. This location demonstrates human adaptation to harsh environments using engineering to sustain life on severely fragmented land. At Koh Phangan in the Gulf of Thailand, a small island can hold many layers of landscape, as if different worlds are placed side by side. Along the coast, the water is so clear that the shallow seabed and coral reefs can be seen, creating strong color changes based on depth. As visitors move around, they constantly change perspectives, from dense tropical forest to bright sandy beaches within a very short distance. More than 70% of the island is covered by forest, creating a layered ecosystem where land life and marine life exist together. The island covers about 65 square miles, but the terrain is broken into many sections, making each area feel like a separate world. The mix of fragmented terrain, diverse ecosystems, and a sense of isolation makes the experience here shift with every step. On the Isle of Skye, off the western coast of the United Kingdom, there is a land where fractured rocky terrain forces people to adapt in order to survive. The geology formed from ancient volcanic activity more than 50 million years ago, creating a solid rock base with visible sediment layers. The terrain is heavily divided with steep slopes, making movement and construction naturally limited. Some peaks reach about 3,200 feet, with steep gradients increasing the risk of rock movement and limiting access. The soil layer is only a few inches above hard rock, which restricts large plant growth and reduces farming potential. The population is only about 13,000 people, yet continues to live stably on this fragmented terrain over time. Cuba in the Caribbean is a country where daily life and landscapes create the feeling of remaining in a different stage of the 20th century. The country has a coastline longer than 2,000 miles, with shallow, clear waters where the seafloor can be seen at around 50 feet depth. Vintage vehicles from the mid-20th century remain in regular use, creating a travel experience that feels very different from modern cities. Long-term erosion of limestone forms rounded hills that clearly reveal geological structure and record millions of years of natural development. Cuba is recognized by UNESCO for important cultural values, reflecting a mix of colonial history and a distinct path of social development. An important fact is that multiple areas in Cuba are listed as World Heritage Sites, showing that its cultural and historical value has been internationally recognized. You may not expect that at the southern edge of the United States, land stops suddenly, and a continuous ocean extends without obstruction in every direction. At Key West, surrounding coastal waters are usually about 10 to 20 feet deep, allowing clear, direct views of the seabed from many locations. The coral limestone base increases water clarity and reflects strong light, creating a stable, bright blue color across a wide marine surface. The island stands only about 5 to 10 feet above sea level, causing the boundary between land and water to shift constantly with tidal changes. Open space in all directions combined with low-rise structures keeps the ocean horizon nearly flat and continuously visible without visual interruption. The distance from this point to some southern countries is shorter than to many major inland cities in the United States, creating an unusual geographic position. Is there a place in the ocean where looking down reveals the sea, divided into clear layers, and that place is Mauritius in the Indian Ocean? Many coastal areas are only about 10 to 25 feet deep, allowing clear views of the seabed and direct observation of underwater structure. This location is recognized as a typical example of a volcanic island combined with coral reef systems, reflecting cultural value connected to the marine environment. Water shifts quickly from shallow to deep within a short distance, creating a clear separation between two distinct color zones visible at once. Basalt rock and coral formations help maintain high clarity, keeping the ocean surface visually sharp and stable across a wide area. The underwater waterfall effect here has been confirmed by geological studies as the result of sand moving down a slope beneath the ocean surface. More than 2,000 miles from the mainland, Easter Island of Chile emerges as a remote island where massive stone statues stand across open ground with little natural cover. Visitors can walk close to stone figures rising over 30 feet and observe their large scale and surfaces carved directly from volcanic rock. Nearly 1,000 Moai statues were created by ancient inhabitants, showing a highly organized labor system despite limited natural resources. The entire island was formed by volcanic activity, with basalt ground creating a rough surface that has remained stable over long periods. The landscape is mostly open grassland, combined with steep cliffs facing the ocean, creating wide visibility and a strong sense of isolation. In 1995, the island was recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, confirming its global cultural and archaeological significance. Gozo is known for its very exposed landscape structure, where bright limestone covers almost the entire island's surface, creating a wide open and dry space that continues without interruption. With an area of about 26 square miles, Gozo reveals a clear terrain where layers of rock, shallow valleys, and plateaus appear like a real map. Colored limestone that reflects strong light, making the scenery sharp and allowing natural boundaries of the land to be seen clearly. The coastline stretches about 27 miles, with cliffs rising hundreds of feet that create a strong sense of depth when looking straight down to the water. The shallow valleys on Gozo guide water naturally, forming a simple but effective drainage system that has worked over a very long time. Today, Gozo is considered one of the islands that has preserved its traditional landscape structure for the longest time in the Mediterranean region. Fernando de Noronha is a volcanic archipelago located off the northeast coast of Brazil, where the ocean creates a space that feels almost completely separated from the outside world. What makes this place stand out is not its size, but its very clear and untouched landscape, where ancient volcanic activity formed steep rock walls, broken coastlines, and narrow sandy areas between high cliffs. Unlike many flat tropical destinations, the scenery here shows strong contrast, with dark cliffs rising high and dropping directly into bright blue water, as if the land was sharply cut by the ocean. The marine ecosystem is preserved in a near-natural state, with a high density of sea life and very little disturbance, making underwater viewing much clearer and more direct than in crowded coastal areas. Visitors often move across steep rocky paths to reach the sea, turning the journey into an exploration experience instead of a simple, relaxing trip. Fernando de Noronha is especially known as one of the few places in the world where dolphins can be seen in the wild almost every day throughout the year. What happens when an island like Nemba Island off the coast of Tanzania turns the ocean into a path you can walk on, where the water reflects like a living mirror? The shallow sea stretches more than 500 feet, allowing visitors to walk far from shore while still clearly seeing the bright sandy bottom and moving coral. There are no cities or large structures, so the entire space remains in a natural state, creating a strong sense of separation from modern human life. Sandbars appear with the tide, forming temporary paths across the sea, making the landscape constantly change like a living structure. The water is so clear that you can observe marine life at about 30 feet deep, where small fish move right beneath your feet like an open ecosystem. The extreme simplicity of sand, water, and light creates a rare experience where people are not surrounded, but instead stand inside a vast continuous space. In the Pacific Ocean within French Polynesia, Bora Bora exists as an ancient volcanic island completely enclosed by a coral ring and protected lagoon. The lagoon covers about 12 square miles, equal to more than 4,000 soccer fields combined, surrounding nearly all of the island land area. At its center stands the remnant of an extinct volcano, while the coral reef forms a natural barrier that separates calm inner waters from the open ocean. Local communities maintain livelihoods based on marine resources and tourism, connecting daily life closely with the surrounding coral ecosystem. Overwater bungalows built directly above the lagoon became a global symbol, showing how limited land space shaped architectural adaptation. Standing within the enclosed blue waters, bordered by coral and volcanic peaks, you clearly feel the island's isolation in the vast Pacific expanse. Mallorca in Spain is the largest island of the Balearic Islands in the Mediterranean, where limestone mountains and blue sea exist together in a clearly contrasting landscape structure. The island covers about 1,400 square miles, nearly equal to the size of a major city, yet its terrain shifts sharply from rocky mountains to coastal plains. The coastline is deeply indented by many small bays, cutting into the land and forming enclosed water spaces with complex shoreline patterns. Limestone geology over millions of years has created natural cave systems, adding an underground layer of landscape parallel to the surface of the island. Uneven land distribution concentrates tourism development in limited zones, allowing many areas to remain relatively preserved in natural condition. The contrast between steep cliffs, open beaches, and long historical presence forms an environment that is visually striking, yet physically defined by clear geographic limits. Across the Caribbean Sea, a fragmented chain of sandy islands spreads over shallow water, forming a rare, natural structure known as the San Blas Islands off the coast of Panama. The islands are densely spread across shallow water, where depth remains about 3 to 5 feet, allowing people to walk across exposed sandbars during low tide periods. These sandy islands, formed from coral sediment, constantly shift shape under ocean currents, creating a dynamic structure that remains balanced over time. The landscape is composed almost entirely of white sand, clear water, and sparse palm trees, forming a minimal but clearly defined natural environment. The region is managed by indigenous communities who maintain traditional lifestyles, recognized as an important cultural value within the Caribbean region. The entire archipelago includes more than 300 small sandy islands spread across shallow seas, forming one of the largest fragmented island systems in the region. In the Indian Ocean off the coast of Mozambique, Bazaruto Archipelago appears like a massive sand formation floating on water, where desert land suddenly meets the deep blue sea. What makes a sandy island system, covering about 55 square miles, constantly reshape with the tides? Scientists explain that underwater sandbanks move like a living map, causing the boundary between land and sea to shift in unpredictable ways. From above, white sand curves like soft lines, blending into clear water and creating strong color transitions that look both natural and visually striking. The water is so clear that the seabed can be seen at depths of about 30 feet, making the entire ocean surface look like a giant reflective glass. There are almost no large urban structures, creating a strong sense of isolation where people can move from dry sand to shallow water within just a few minutes. The untouched marine ecosystem, combined with constantly shifting sand landscapes, creates a rare experience where each step reveals a noticeably different scene. Antigua in the nation of Antigua and Barbuda in the Eastern Caribbean is an island where the coastline is cut into many sheltered bays, forming a maze-like structure across the open sea. The complex shoreline, combined with shallow water and surrounding coral reefs, protects the island naturally and creates a striking marine environment shaped by clear geological forces. The relatively low and open terrain allows communities to connect directly with the sea, where boats anchor closely together and international yachts treat the island as a strategic stop in the Caribbean. The island is known for 365 beaches, meaning each day of the year can match with a different stretch of sand, a density rarely found on islands of similar size. The white sand formed from finely crushed coral over thousands of years reflects strong sunlight, making the turquoise water appear exceptionally clear and supporting tourism and marine services year-round. Even without tall mountains or massive structures, Antigua attracts visitors through its naturally sheltered bays and calm water, creating a seamless ocean space closely linked to everyday island life. A narrow strip of land in the ocean can divide two different water zones within a single view, and that place is Yasawa Islands off the coast of Fiji. Many coastal areas are only about 10 to 30 feet deep, allowing direct views of the seabed and creating a clear and accessible ocean experience. This island chain is recognized as an important part of the marine ecosystem of Fiji, reflecting cultural value connected to life at sea. One side faces waters hundreds of feet deep, while the other side remains shallow and bright, creating a sharp spatial contrast within a short distance. Coral limestone geology increases water clarity and keeps the surface visually sharp while maintaining stable color across a wide ocean area. The region remained largely isolated for a long period, which helped preserve marine conditions in a relatively undisturbed natural state. Whitsunday Islands, Australia, lies off the coast of Queensland in the northeastern sea, where more than 70 islands form a large tropical archipelago in open ocean waters. The surrounding waters shift in color with depth and connect directly to a vast coral reef system, creating a diverse and stable marine ecosystem over many years. The sand contains a very high silica content with fine, nearly pure grains, allowing it to keep a bright white color and resist erosion over time. The islands feature low forested hills, surrounded by clear water and white beaches, and low construction levels help maintain a largely untouched natural landscape. Local residents and visitors support sailing and marine activities, yet all operations remain strongly dependent on natural sea conditions and coastal balance. Why does this place keep white sand and stable marine conditions despite having more than 70 islands? According to experts, high silica composition and a favorable geographic position reduce erosion and help maintain long-term ecological balance. South of India, in the Indian Ocean, Sri Lanka appears as an island nation, covering about 25,000 square miles, yet holding dense landscapes and ecosystems within limited space. Within short distances, the land rises from low coastal plains to a central plateau, reaching over 6,500 feet, creating sharp contrast across one country. With more than 2,000 years of recorded history, it once served as a major maritime hub, linking East Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. Local communities cultivate tea and spices across uplands and slopes, combining agriculture with tourism to adapt to varied terrain and island conditions. Its high biodiversity relative to size places the island among global ecological hotspots, where forests, grasslands, and coastal systems coexist within complex natural structure. According to experts, its strategic position in the Indian Ocean, together with layered geological structure, has shaped Sri Lanka into a compact yet culturally and naturally rich island. Kauai, USA, is part of the state of Hawaii in the Pacific Ocean and is the oldest island in the main chain, formed by volcanic activity millions of years ago. Over long geological time, erosion carved deep valleys, large canyons, and coastal cliffs rising hundreds of feet like continuous natural stone walls. Dense vegetation covers much of the surface, giving it the name Garden Island, where tropical forests spread across ancient volcanic rock. The ecosystem combines forests, coastlines, and upland plateaus within limited space, creating high biodiversity and noticeable landscape changes across short distances. Local communities support tourism and services, while keeping development levels relatively low, allowing natural landforms and wild scenery to remain clearly visible. What allows a volcanic island in the ocean to hold cliffs hundreds of feet high and terrain eroded into a massive stone maze? According to research, its great geological age and millions of years of weathering produce this rare and complex land structure. Located off the southern coast of Italy, Capri rises like a massive limestone block straight out of deep water, creating a strong contrast between steep land and dark blue sea. The island covers only about 10 square miles, but its geology is deeply broken, making each area look like a completely different landscape. One of the most striking features of Capri is its near-vertical cliffs, many rising hundreds of feet, giving the impression that the island was carved directly from solid rock. These cliffs are not continuous, but split by cracks and openings, forming a network of sea caves that cut deep into the island. Another unusual feature of Capri is how the water changes color based on depth and seabed structure, with shallow areas appearing bright blue while deeper zones turn into a dark ink-like tone. Capri is considered one of the most visited islands relative to its size, creating a contrast between its small scale and its global attraction. If a part of Earth once broke away and kept its original form, then Tasmania, in the south of Australia, shows that idea in the clearest way. Tasmania covers about 26,000 square miles, with nearly half of its land protected, creating a rare continuous wilderness on a large scale. Here, sharp mountains, dense forests, and deep ocean appear side by side, making the landscape feel like three different worlds meeting in one place. The ecosystem developed in isolation for thousands of years, allowing animals like the Tasmanian devil to exist with behaviors and traits not seen anywhere else. The coastline stretches more than 3,300 miles, forming long vertical cliffs where visitors can look straight down at the ocean below. As you move deeper into the island, the sense of losing connection with the modern world becomes clear, turning the journey into something closer to exploration than normal travel. At the northern edge of Europe, in the North Atlantic Ocean, Iceland exists directly on the boundary where two major tectonic plates continue to move apart. This constant shifting has produced more than 100 recorded volcanoes, an unusually high number for a relatively small European nation. Hardened lava spreads across vast black stone fields, while massive glaciers cover highlands, creating terrain that feels severe and largely untouched by deep human alteration. For decades, Icelandic communities have used geothermal energy for daily life, and electricity turning underground heat into a stable foundation for national development. Scientists regard the country as a natural laboratory because tectonic activity and glacial movement continue allowing direct observation of land formation and transformation. Owing to its rare geological structure and preserved wilderness, Iceland is repeatedly ranked among the most remarkable natural destinations in Europe and recognized as a symbol of the meeting of fire and ice. There is a place in the Mediterranean that looks like a massive mountain rising from the sea, and this is Corsica in France. On this terrain, movement constantly shifts in elevation, sometimes walking along narrow ridges with deep drops of hundreds of feet on both sides. Small paths, only a few feet wide, cling to rocky slopes, requiring careful control of every step to maintain balance and safety. The land was lifted by tectonic forces, with peaks exceeding 8,000 feet, leaving most of the surface covered by continuous steep slopes. Rapid elevation changes across short distances cause visible landscape shifts, where moving a few miles creates clear environmental differences. The island is recognized for its natural and cultural value in Europe because of the rare combination of high mountains and marine environment in one space. Maui, in the state of Hawaii in the United States, is an island where landscapes change quickly across short distances, creating clearly different natural environments. The island formed through volcanic eruptions over millions of years, with a summit near 10,000 feet, creating multiple climate zones in one area. Steady trade winds control rainfall distribution, forming strong contrast between dense wet forests and dry land covered by dark basalt rock. Coastal terrain includes cliffs reaching hundreds of feet, and ocean depth increases rapidly, supporting rich marine ecosystems close to shore. Humans adapted to this isolated environment centuries ago by developing systems for living and farming suited to steep terrain and limited resources. Today, Maui represents extreme geographic diversity within about 735 square miles, where many landscapes exist together in a compact space. A volcanic island off the southern coast of South Korea, called Jeju Island, was formed entirely from lava, where the ground records each stage of eruptions across long geological periods. Visitors walking into lava tubes, stretching for miles, observe smooth, curved rock surfaces that preserve the exact flow patterns frozen from ancient molten movement. The terrain developed about 2 million years ago, producing more than 300 small volcanic cones distributed across the island's surface. Local residents construct houses using basalt stone and protective walls, adapting to strong winds while directly using materials available from the surrounding environment. The island is recognized as a global natural heritage site due to its complete volcanic geological system and its clear value for scientific research. Stacked lava layers create a rough and uneven surface where each step reflects a long formation history that extends across millions of years. Kodiak Island in Alaska. United States is a large island off the coast of Alaska, where low mountains, tundra grasslands, and rugged shores create a space almost separated from the mainland. The island covers about 3,500 square miles, roughly the size of an average province in Vietnam, yet its small population allows nature to dominate clearly. It is home to the Kodiak brown bear, one of the largest bear species in the world, requiring people to adjust their daily habits to coexist safely. Mountains mixed with open grasslands and a deeply indented coastline form diverse habitats supported by rich marine resources from surrounding waters. Separation from major urban centers means life on the island depends directly on natural cycles and long-established fishing traditions. Continuous marine nutrients, carried inland through ocean currents and generations of harvesting, explain why large-scale ecosystems continue to survive at such a high latitude. Zanzibar, Tanzania, is an offshore archipelago in East Africa within the Indian Ocean, where tropical seas and long trade history create a world both beautiful and demanding. In the 19th century, Zanzibar supplied much of the world clove trade, turning this small island group into a major link between Africa, Arabia, and South Asia. Local people live by fishing and growing spices, adapting daily to shifting tides, pulling boats across dry sand, then launching them when water returns. Each day the tide can retreat nearly 1,000 feet, exposing a vast sandy floor before covering it again within only a few hours. Surrounding waters remain shallow, across wide areas, often only several feet deep, allowing coral reefs to grow close to communities and support dense marine life. Why does a place with white beaches stretching hundreds of miles and a history as a major Indian Ocean trade hub still feel untouched and remote? According to experts, its offshore position and strong tidal cycles have limited heavy development, preserving natural ecosystems and landscape structure over long periods. In the southeastern part of Indonesia, Nusa Penida appears as a limestone island with steep coastal cliffs, where rugged terrain makes access and settlement difficult. The island covers about 78 square miles, but most of its surface is rough and steep, limiting balanced development. Local residents rely on fishing and small-scale farming, adapting to limited fresh water and poor soil conditions. Coastal cliffs rise above 300 feet, creating a nearly vertical boundary between land and ocean. Strong wave erosion constantly reshapes the coastline, increasing the risk of rockfall in many areas. Rainwater quickly drains through limestone, making freshwater storage difficult enforcing strict resource management. Within the Indonesian archipelago in Southeast Asia, Bali rises as a volcanic island where powerful nature and strong spiritual traditions exist in one shared space. Its terrain was shaped by volcanic activity, forming basalt mountain ranges and fertile soil, giving the island a clearly defined tectonic structure that changes over long geological time. The terrace rice fields operate through a traditional irrigation network that has lasted for hundreds of years, showing how communities organized water across steep slopes. Hindu temples appear between forests, rice fields, and coastlines, creating a landscape where architecture and natural surroundings are closely connected. The coastline includes both white sand and dark volcanic sand, direct evidence of geological origins that create different surface textures across the same island. Is there another island of comparable size that combines volcanoes, ancient farming systems, traditional belief structures, and varied coastal formations within such a compact territory? Located near Tahiti, Moorea rises like a steep landmass in the ocean, where an ancient volcano created very clear shapes and strong contrasts. This island is not a flat beach, but a rare mix of high, steep mountains and shallow turquoise water surrounding it. The most striking feature of Moorea is its heavily eroded volcanic structure, where sharp peaks rise directly from dense forest, forming natural stone walls in open space. The water can be clear to about 80 feet, allowing light to reflect from the bottom and create a bright mirror-like effect across the sea. Visitors can easily feel the changing beauty as they move from thick green forest down to bright shallow water within a short journey. Overall, Moorea is considered one of the clearest examples of a complete tropical volcanic island, where geology, ecosystems, and visual effects combine into a landscape that feels both real and almost unreal. Sicily is the largest island in the Mediterranean, located south of Italy, where layers of geology, culture, and history stack together like a living map of time. This island covers about 10,700 square miles, like a small continent, where the landscape quickly changes from steep rocky coasts to fertile plains. The most striking feature is a volcano rising nearly 11,000 feet, where flowing lava creates dark, mineral-rich soil that supports strong ecosystems. Visitors can walk across hardened lava fields, where the rough ground looks like ocean waves frozen in motion. The scenery does not follow one pattern, but shifts quickly from cliffs dropping into deep blue water to dry volcanic land, and then wide, fertile plains formed over thousands of years. This mix of active geology, clear deep sea, and mineral-rich land makes Sicily a place where people explore while adapting to a landscape that is always changing. Have you ever imagined a paradise where more than 30 islands and cays are scattered like gems across the clear Caribbean waters of St. Vincent and the Grenadines? When viewed from above, the entire area appears as a natural map with green landmasses standing out against a vast blue background. Some islands feature lush green terrain, covering everything from the peaks down to the shore, creating a continuous transition between the mountains and the water. The marine ecosystem here is incredibly rich, supporting thousands of species living around the vibrant coral reefs. Surrounding coral reefs act as natural barriers that reduce the waves, creating calm patches of water in the middle of the open sea. Traditional festivals often take place along the coast, where the community gathers around the open space of the ocean. Palawan stretches approximately 270 miles along the north-south axis, forming a narrow chain of islands amidst the clear waters of the Philippines. These structures were formed from limestone blocks standing upright over millions of years, creating natural walls that enclose the waters within. Some lagoons here can only be accessed by rowing through narrow rock crevices, where the entrance is nearly invisible from a distance. White sand beaches appear unexpectedly between the cliffs, creating open spaces after areas hidden by the rock formations. Here, the sea and the forest exist very close to each other, with only a few hundred feet between the water and the green canopy. When swimming in the shallow waters, you can clearly see the sandy bottom and feel the changing depth right beneath your feet. Seychelles is a miraculous archipelago of more than 100 islands scattered across the Indian Ocean, forming a vast and secluded island system. This is one of the few places on Earth where ancient granite rocks appear directly in the middle of the ocean, rather than being buried deep underground. Giant boulders, some larger than a house, are scattered right along the water's edge, like sculptures carved by time. The sea here has a brilliant light blue color due to the shallow depth and the fine white sand below, stretching between clusters of dark, silent rocks. With this surreal beauty, Seychelles consistently holds its place on the list of the most beautiful island destinations on the planet. Here, you can freely walk among the massive rock formations, discovering countless small spaces hidden right on the same beach. Waiheke is located approximately 11 miles from the city of Auckland, forming an inshore island that remains completely separated from the hustle and bustle of the mainland. This island is famous for its vineyards, stretching across steep hillsides, facing directly toward the vast ocean. The grape-growing areas are meticulously arranged according to the natural terrain, taking full advantage of the sunlight and sea breezes to create wines that carry the island's distinct identity. Along the coastline, numerous small coves are interspersed, creating secluded and quiet water areas that stand in stark contrast to the open sea waves. Lush green hillsides stretch all the way down to the water's edge, creating a smooth and continuous transition between the land and the sea. It is this unique combination that has transformed Waiheke into one of the most renowned wine sanctuaries in New Zealand. What makes Samoa, in the heart of Polynesia, a place where beauty is not only seen, but deeply felt through the vast scale of nature? The island was formed by ancient volcanoes with a coastline of about 250 miles, where black rock meets bright blue water, creating a strong and striking contrast. Dense tropical forest covers old lava ground with layers of green rising over each other like a living carpet that makes the space feel deep and full of life. Seawater moves into underground lava caves, forming clear blue pools with visibility beyond 100 feet, giving the feeling of entering another world. Water bursts through natural rock openings, creating continuous movement along the coast, so the landscape feels active, as if it is telling its own story. As people move across the island, each step reveals a new view where the beauty keeps changing and holds attention without ever repeating itself. What makes Barbados in the Caribbean become a small island that still holds two completely different ocean faces within the same space? The entire island rises from coral limestone, making the land appear bright and reflective like a giant mirror placed in the deep blue ocean. Barbados covers about 166 square miles, similar to a large city, yet each coastline opens a different landscape like two clearly separated worlds. One side has water as calm as a giant lake, where coral reefs act like a natural wall, allowing visitors to swim in clear and peaceful surroundings. On the opposite side, waves crash constantly against coral cliffs, shaping sharp rock forms that look like massive sculptures created by nature itself. With more than 70 miles of coastline, Barbados offers a short journey that keeps changing, like traveling across many different islands in a single day. Welcome to Isla Holbox, off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula, where a long sand strip of about 26 miles reveals a pure beauty like an untouched painting. Why can people walk more than 500 feet here while the water stays shallow and the sea reflects the sky? Because the flat seabed keeps every movement smooth and continuous. White sandbars rising through blue water create unusual shapes while highlighting a natural balance between light, color, and open space. The ecosystem appears clearly in shallow water, where flamingos and marine life stand out like living details across a simple and open landscape. As the water glows with each movement, the entire space feels lit from within, turning beauty into something not only seen, but deeply felt. Without noise or crowding, the island keeps its untouched state, where beauty does not need to show off to make people stop and reflect. What happens when an ancient landmass rises in the North Atlantic Ocean and separates itself from the mainland at Cape Breton Island, creating a world of its own? Jia hin tai jai kong, tre juma bi kat than new lop, ki rung dai, Cao Dung Guyen Trong, Vavak Ja Jung Kang Hao, Trong Chung Tamen Hin. Nung Vak Ja Kao Hang Tram Feet Lao Tang Shuang Nuk Sao, Tao Kam Giak Nhu, Mat Jat Jat Ngot Kit Thuchwa Anjai Duong Bat, Jaun Ngai Duoi Shan. The long collision between ocean waves and hard rock over millions of years has shaped a jagged coastline where every angle looks clearly different. When moving across the island, visitors can see the ocean stretch for dozens of miles, while the horizon is constantly broken by ancient mountain layers. The combination of old mountains, dense forests, coastal marine life, and isolation creates an experience that feels both powerful and deeply engaging. In the Caribbean, what makes St. Bart's a place that feels both dry like bare rock and bright with endless clear blue water stretching across the horizon? An area of about 10 square miles, this small island feels like an isolated piece of land in a vast ocean where every experience happens within a compact space. The low hills covered with exposed rock create a dry surface rarely seen in tropical seas, making the landscape feel like a meeting point between desert and ocean. Villas built along the hillsides with low height and neutral tones allow the architecture to blend into the terrain instead of breaking the natural structure. The surrounding water is so clear that you can see the seabed at depths of dozens of feet, creating a strong color shift that looks like a living map. As you move across connected bays, you experience constant changes in scenery, from dry, rocky shores to blue water, creating the feeling of stepping through many worlds in a short journey. And can hold many layers of landscape, as if different worlds are placed side by side. At Koh Phangan in the Gulf of Thailand, a small island along the coast, the water is so clear that the shallow seabed and coral reefs can be seen, creating strong color changes based on depth. The island covers about 65 square miles, but the terrain is broken into many sections, making each area feel like a separate world. As visitors move around, they constantly change perspectives, from dense tropical forest to bright sandy beaches within a very short distance. More than 70% of the island is covered by forest, creating a layered ecosystem where land life and marine life exist together. The mix of fragmented terrain, diverse ecosystems, and a sense of isolation makes the experience here shift with every step. Cebu appears as a long island in the center of Philippines, where steep land meets deep ocean, creating a clear contrast between rocky mountains and blue water. Cebu was one of the first major sea trade gateways of the Philippines, connecting international routes many centuries ago. The island stretches about 120 miles, forming a natural path where visitors move easily between steep forests, coastlines, and clear water areas. Under the water, visibility can reach nearly 100 feet, making swimming feel like floating in open space, where fish and coral are easy to see. Because of this, Cebu allows people to get close to whale sharks safely, as steady plankton-rich water provides food, while shallow seas help these large animals move slowly and stay visible. Inside the island, turquoise waterfalls formed from ancient limestone create connected pools that look like natural steps leading deep into the forest. What makes Hvar in the Adriatic Sea become a place that looks both clear and unreal, where light and land shape create the feeling of seeing a living map in real life. The island's surface is mostly bright rock and low plants, creating a wide open space that allows people to clearly see each layer of the terrain. Hvar stretches about 40 miles, forming a long, narrow island in the sea, where every movement feels connected to the wide open horizon. The island produces herbs and plants that survive dry land, so when you arrive, you can notice a natural scent spreading through the air. The ancient fields are divided into geometric shapes that have existed for more than 2,000 years, creating a landscape that blends human design with natural terrain. When traveling by boat around the island, visitors experience constant changes between dry, rocky shores, bright water, and open space, creating the feeling of moving through many different worlds in one journey. If there is a place where beauty is created by the collision between ancient rock and the ocean, it is Mount Desert Island off the coast of Maine, where the landscape appears both rugged and captivating. "108 square miles. The island covers about 108 square miles, similar to a small city, yet each area reveals a different scene like separate paintings placed side by side. "108 square miles. Massive granite rocks rise beside the sea, with some as large as a multi-story building, creating a strong base that highlights the deep, dark color of the water. Ocean waves can rise higher than 10 feet, and when they hit the cliffs, they form white bursts of water that constantly change shape like natural effects. "10 feet, green forests stretch down to the edge of the water, where the color of leaves meets the sea, forming a clear and attractive band of changing tones. In the late 19th century, many wealthy families from the United States chose this place to build large retreats, not for loud entertainment, but to experience wild nature with comfort. Curaçao is a Caribbean island where dry climate conditions exist, together with deep marine ecosystems right next to the shore, creating a rare natural structure. The island covers about 170 square miles and receives around 20 inches of rain each year, which creates a stable, semi-arid environment with drought-resistant vegetation. The seafloor drops quickly to more than 1,000 feet, close to shore, allowing direct access to deep water without long travel, which supports consistent diving conditions. Ancient limestone once formed under the ocean has been uplifted over time, creating cliffs, caves, and geological structures that clearly show a formation process lasting millions of years. As part of the Netherlands, the island applies architectural designs that reduce heat absorption and improve airflow, making buildings suitable for strong sunlight conditions throughout the year. Curaçao represents a rare model where dry land ecosystems and tropical marine systems exist together, providing important data for geographic and biological adaptation research. Cozumel lies off the eastern coast of Mexico, in the Caribbean Sea, where the water shows a bright blue color and an unusually clear view across a large area. Cozumel stands out because of its vast coral reef system that is part of the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef, the second largest reef system on Earth. So divers often let the ocean current carry them along the reef instead of swimming. Most of the waters around the island are strictly protected, keeping the ecosystem almost untouched, with a high number of marine species that can be seen clearly and closely. Beneath the surface are deep channels, vertical walls, and underwater caves formed from ancient limestone, creating natural pathways where water moves constantly and carries marine life with it. Underwater visibility can exceed 100 feet, like looking through the height of a tall building, making distance feel shorter than it really is. This is not a typical crowded resort island, but a place where geology, ocean currents, and marine ecosystems come together to create a very different kind of experience. There is a place in the South China Sea where stepping a few steps into the water reveals a full marine ecosystem clearly in front of you. This is the Perhentian Islands in Malaysia. Swimmers only need to move a few feet from the shore to see coral and fish appearing densely within a natural environment. Many areas remain shallow at about 3 to 30 feet, allowing access to marine life without requiring complex equipment. The seabed of bright sand, combined with clear water, makes underwater visibility continuous and easy to follow during movement. This area is recognized as an important marine ecotourism destination in Malaysia for maintaining a stable ecosystem within a limited space. It is also recorded as one of the locations with high density of marine life near shore, allowing observation of many species without traveling far. Located in the western waters of the Gulf of Thailand, Koh Tao is known as one of the world's largest diving centers, not because of its size, but because of its dense coral reefs and easy access. The coastline is not only sand, but also large granite rocks stacked together, creating the feeling of natural structures frozen in the middle of formation. Beneath the surface, more than 300 species of fish and 130 species of coral form a dense ecosystem, like a living city that is always moving. Here, beginners can reach the marine ecosystem after just a few steps into the water, while deeper areas reveal complex layers such as underwater cliffs and valleys. A special feature is the steady ocean current, which gathers marine life in high density, so visitors can see many species without moving far. Because of these unique features, Koh Tao has been called a factory of divers, as the number of people learning to dive each year is very large compared to the island's size. In the middle of the vast ocean, a land formed by ancient eruptions still exists as a dynamic structure known as the Azores, belonging to Portugal. The islands were created by volcanic activity along the boundary of three major tectonic plates, forming a geological system that continues to change over long periods. Many volcanic craters reach several miles in diameter and collect water inside, forming lakes surrounded by steep rock walls. The terrain shifts quickly from lower ground to steep slopes, allowing observation of both the open ocean and volcanic structures within the same space. Local architecture uses volcanic stone as a primary material and is recognized as a cultural value closely connected to harsh natural conditions. Heat and steam still escape slowly from underground, making the entire surface feel like it is continuously being reshaped by ongoing geological movement. Haida lies off the western coast of Canada as an isolated archipelago where dense forests extend directly into the ocean, and modern urban traces are nearly absent. Visitors must travel by air or sea to reach this place, and once arriving, they experience a quiet environment with extremely low population density. This region lies about 50 miles from the mainland, creating conditions for a unique ecosystem with temperate rainforest trees rising over 150 feet. Indigenous culture has existed for more than 10,000 years, with solid wood architecture built from forest resources and adapted directly to the natural environment. The landscape stands out as forests connect straight to the sea, with beaches covered in driftwood longer than 30 feet and dense fog reducing visibility below 1 mile. This long isolation makes the area a rare natural reserve, allowing scientists to study how ecosystems develop with minimal human impact. Is there any place off the southern coast of Yemen, like Socotra, where plant life forms unusual shapes and remains isolated over extremely long periods? Moving across the island, travelers can observe rapid transitions from dry land to coastal areas, creating a continuous and varied experience within a short distance. More than one-third of the plant species here are endemic, showing long-term isolated evolution without outside influence. The surface includes large areas of limestone and dry ground, indicating prolonged water scarcity and strong weathering processes over time. Socotra is recognized by UNESCO as a natural heritage site, confirming its unique biological value and importance for global research. Wide canopy trees with thick trunks grow in scattered patterns, shaping a landscape that appears entirely defined by an ecosystem found nowhere else. Benoa Island in Indonesia lies south of Bali, with wide, shallow waters and gently sloping sandy shores, forming an open marine space shaped by clear geological structure. The flat, shallow sea and surrounding coral reefs keep the water surface stable, allowing diving and recreational activities to operate with high density. The area is recognized as a center for marine sports in Indonesia, where water-based services expand closely alongside everyday human activity. The white sand, formed from broken coral over thousands of years, reflects strong light and gives the sea its distinct turquoise color. The combination of shallow waters and infrastructure built near the shoreline supports large-scale marine tourism even without high mountains or rugged terrain. Overall, the landscape presents a setting that is both visually striking and naturally limited, where coastal ecosystems and tourism development exist within the same physical space. Jamaica, located in the Caribbean Sea, is a relatively small island, yet it contains mountains, forests, and deep ocean within one continuous landscape system. Each year, it receives over 4 million visitors, supported by steady temperatures around 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, allowing travel throughout the year. More than two-thirds of the island is mountainous, with elevations reaching about 7,400 feet, creating rapid climate variation over short distances. Annual rainfall can exceed 100 inches, which supports dense tropical forests and provides habitat for over 100 endemic species. The terrain shifts quickly from mountain slopes to about 600 miles of coastline, where water clarity can reach nearly 100 feet below the surface. This makes Jamaica a complete compact ecosystem, where natural conditions change continuously within a short travel distance. In southern Japan, Yakushima is a place where ancient forests continue to grow for thousands of years under nearly constant moisture conditions. The island terrain rises from sea level to over 6,000 feet, allowing travelers to pass through multiple ecological layers within a single journey. The region receives more than 100 inches of rainfall each year, supporting thick moss growth that helps retain water across soil and rock surfaces. Moving deeper into the forest reveals large ancient tree trunks formed over centuries under slow and stable environmental conditions. Yakushima is recognized as a natural heritage site by UNESCO, showing long-term ecological value and strong preservation of primary forest systems. Some cedar trees here exceed 1,000 years in age, making them among the oldest living organisms within this humid forest ecosystem. Saint Lucia in the Caribbean is an island nation in the eastern Caribbean, where steep volcanic terrain and dense tropical rainforest create a powerful and clearly recognizable natural structure. The island covers about 240 square miles, yet within this limited space, the land shifts quickly from rocky slopes down to the coastline. Most of the territory is covered by tropical rainforest, which sustains rich ecosystems and plays a central role in maintaining environmental balance. Its ancient volcanic origin left behind steep rock formations and elevated terrain, forming a geological base unlike many lower coral islands in the region. This uplifted landform created strong slopes that help retain water and vegetation, supporting long-term ecological stability. The combination of volcanic mountains, thick forest, and open sea forms a setting that is visually striking, yet clearly shaped by firm geological limits. Off the eastern coast of Canada, Prince Edward Island appears as a small island with distinct red soil, where the coastline is constantly shaped by ocean forces over time. Some coastal sections can retreat several feet each year due to continuous erosion caused by waves and wind acting on soft ground. The low and flat terrain makes much of the island sensitive to long-term changes in sea level conditions. Farmland stretches directly to the water edge, creating a clear boundary between cultivated land and the open ocean environment. The coastline curves continuously with soft sandstone cliffs, causing the island shape to change noticeably over several decades. The island has over 680 miles of coastline, creating a very high coastal density compared to its small total area. Galapagos Islands in Ecuador lie in the Pacific Ocean, about 600 miles from mainland South America, forming an isolated volcanic archipelago where dark geology and unique life exist together. The islands were created by undersea volcanic activity, leaving dry basalt surfaces and exposed lava formations that record natural geological processes. Their isolation in the open ocean allowed many species to evolve independently, producing one of the highest levels of endemic wildlife found anywhere on Earth. When Charles Darwin arrived in the 19th century, his observations of native species here helped shape the theory of evolution by natural selection. Why can a harsh, rocky landmass support such rich ecosystems unless nutrient-rich ocean currents interact continuously with young volcanic terrain to renew habitats? The blend of dark lava fields, productive surrounding waters, and wildlife unafraid of humans creates a setting that is visually striking and ecologically extreme. A low archipelago with clear water and dense coral reefs exists in the Red Sea, known as Farasan Islands in Saudi Arabia, where land is formed from accumulated marine organisms. The archipelago includes more than 80 islands, forming a fragmented ecosystem with many shallow water zones directly connected to coral reef systems. The geological base consists mainly of fossilized coral, creating a light structure that still remains stable enough to form land surfaces. Shallow waters combined with mangrove areas reduce coastal erosion and maintain habitats for a wide range of marine species. Coastal depth ranges from about 10 to 30 feet, allowing sunlight to reach the seabed and support continuous marine life growth. In several areas, low tide exposes sand surfaces wide enough for people to walk far out from the shoreline. In the southern part of Australia, Kangaroo Island stretches as a separated land where ecosystems develop under long-term isolation and follow their own natural rules. The island is about 95 miles long and nearly 35 miles wide, providing enough space for multiple ecosystems to exist without overlap. Animals live entirely in natural conditions, forcing them to adapt directly to available food sources and the harsh environment of the island. The geological base formed over 500 million years ago, creating a hard surface that affects how vegetation develops across the land. The coastline extends for more than 300 miles, with steep cliffs increasing the severity of conditions along the ocean edge. A distance of about 10 miles from the mainland limits outside species, allowing the ecosystem to remain isolated over long periods. On the shore of the Indian Ocean in Seychelles, Beauvallon stretches as an open sandy coast where the tropical sea meets ancient granite bedrock. Granite boulders, hundreds of millions of years old, rest among white sand, forming a rare geological setting based on some of the oldest exposed rock on Earth. The relatively wide and level shoreline supports community life, where local residents continue fishing and small trade alongside growing tourism activities. Open coastal space combined with clear blue water and gentle slopes distinguishes this area from many steep rocky shores, typical across Seychelles. The contrast between solid ancient stone and soft sand creates a landscape that feels both primitive and stable, marking a boundary between deep geological time and modern living. What transforms a calm beach into a place carrying hundreds of millions of years of Earth history? The presence of ancient granite within open ocean waters makes Beauvallon a meeting point between deep geological time and present human activity. In the South Pacific within Fiji, Becker Island stands as a place where dense rainforest and surrounding coral reefs create a clearly separated environment. Most of the island is covered by continuous green vegetation, stretching from mountain slopes down to the shoreline, giving the landscape a raw and largely untouched character. The surrounding waters contain developed coral reef systems that support hundreds of fish and marine species, forming a structured and balanced ocean ecosystem.